and he was sent forward on a reconnaissance mission.
And so when he got over there, he saw what was going on, all right. He took his rifle and charged into a German machine gun nest and killed two and wounded three. And he'd used up all his ammo, picked up a German machine gun, and started firing and running across an open field towards the next machine gun nest, knocked that one out. And then he circled above another one and knocked that one out. Then he went on and knocked out a fourth one. And then he went back to tell the company commander what was going on.
But McGrath's day was not over. A few hours later, he volunteered to go on another scouting run. This time, a German mortar hit him as he ran, killing him instantly. John McGrath was awarded the Medal of Honor posthumously. He was 20 years old. On this same day, April 14th, more than 500 10th Division members were killed or wounded. But the division had developed unstoppable momentum. A few days later, the 10th smashed through the German line and became the first American division to make it out of the mountains and into the Po Valley. General Hayes prepared to chase the retreating Germans as fast as he could. But he had to tell his troops to wait. His superiors wanted the other Allied divisions to catch up.
And they came up to us and stopped us. He was furious. He said, look, I've lost good men in getting this started. Let me go. And they said, well, the rest of us aren't ready to go. You have to stop. He was livid.
Senior commanders told Hayes that other divisions would be passing through the 10th to lead the advance. But Hayes told his men, they'll have to catch us first. He told them to move as fast as possible, using any means available.
The trucks were moving and people were going on horses, ambulances, buses, jeeps, whatever. And things were moving rapidly. And it was a feeling of victory in the air.
As they moved through the valley, American soldiers were mobbed with hospitality from Italians suddenly free from years of German occupation.
And they would walk alongside of you with a glass and a bottle of wine. And they'd fill it up and let you drink that, and then they'd take the glass, go back and get the next one. And they would give you big raw onions. I'd eat it like an apple, and just tears coming down my face.
As they chased the Germans across the Po, the nature of the battle changed. Back in the mountains, the Germans had always been entrenched on the high ground. Now, as they retreated, they would turn and fight at unpredictable times. One German tank emerged from an orchard and began firing, wounding John Embry and killing his friend, John Dubzinski.
Why was this man killed? I wasn't. There's kind of almost a religious feeling amongst us that these men, in my case, for example, we were both running together. If I had started 1 second earlier or half a second later, I would be killed and he would be wounded.
While some Germans kept fighting, many took the chance to surrender.
We had the Germans on a run, honestly. They were surrendering by the hundreds, really. And then I think, basically, they were thrilled to death that something was coming to an end.
You'd see 100 German soldiers walking one American soldier with them. That was it. They were headed back to the rear.
The 10th was advancing 25 miles a day and reached the Po River so quickly that the German commander and his staff had to swim across to avoid capture. The 10th could not cross the Po because senior command had given all the boats and bridging to other divisions, the ones that were supposed to be leading the advance. But that didn't stop General Hayes.
When the 10th hit the Po River, Hayes was adamant, we're going to keep on going. And we didn't have any bridging. We had nothing. Hayes called in the engineer battalion commander and said, what are we going to do about it? Get me some bridging. and but it's all allocated to another division. Well, we go get it.
So we sent the supply officer back, and along the road behind us there were 5 trucks on semi-trailers, and they each had 10 assault boats, wooden assault boats. And so the driver asked our supply officer, says, "Where's the 86th Division?" And he said, "Well, just follow me." So he brought him right into the tent area, and I might say we pirated the boats in a way, but...
I heard that story, and I think it's great.
With its purloined boats, the 10th became the first Allied unit to cross the Po River.
And we paddled across under a fusillade of shot. Nobody got hit, but the boats got hit. And they were leaking, barely got to the other side.
Once across, the 10th established a beachhead, but then discovered the hazards of having moved so far ahead of the other Allied units.
Very early the next morning, we started to get shelled, artillery. Turned out to be an American division preparing to cross the river. They were shelling us. They had no idea we were there. And Captain Hammer from E Company stood up and said to the men, "Don't worry, men, it's our own artillery."
The 10th had the Germans on the run, but it had to cut them off before they could reach the Alps, where it was thought the Germans would regroup for a final cataclysmic battle. The chase moved to Lake Garda, a beautiful resort area in the foothills of the Alps. This was an extremely dangerous time for the 10th. The highways along the lake shores passed through scores of mountain tunnels. And as the Americans entered the tunnels, the Germans began blowing them up.
We had some soldiers up beyond in the tunnel, and some of the Germans had those tunnels zeroed in.
Yeah.
And they put a shell right into one tunnel when some of the American soldiers were in it, and I think they killed quite a few of them.
With the tunnels blocked, the 10th went around them, either above them on foot or on the lake itself. Their artillery along the shores pounded the German positions in the mountains. All across northern Italy, the Allies were closing in on the Germans, who were close to surrender, but they still put up some last-ditch resistance against the 10th.
And then they hit the aid station where the 3 chaplains were, wiped them all out at once. And it was, it was a useless battle because the war was really over.
The end came in the shadow of the Alps themselves. On May 2nd, 1945, the 10th received word that its campaign was over. Germany had surrendered unconditionally in Italy.
All of a sudden, all hell broke loose. I mean, horns started blowing, and people came running out of their houses and this and that, and somebody, the bus of traffic stopped and said, "What's going on?" I said, "The war's over."
We celebrated with several cases of champagne, firing our rifles off in the air and throwing grenades in the water, and then sitting there and weeping for the guys who didn't make it.
The 10th Mountain Division, the very unit that the Army had not wanted the year before, had exceeded all expectations. It had taken every objective assigned to it and played a major part in defeating the Germans in Italy. The German general von Senger later described the 10th as his toughest opponent of the war, including his time on the Russian front. Even the 10th's battle-hardened commander, General Hayes, told his men they had stretched believability with their accomplishments.
When you soldiers go home, no one will believe you when you start telling of the spectacular things you have done. There have been more heroic deeds and experiences crammed into these days than I have heard of. The Lord held us by the hand.
I think esprit de corps had a lot to do with it. We just felt we could not let each other down.